How's it going, everybody? I got some more magic for you today with a Mardu Tokens deck. There's been a lot of these floating around. It is a very popular archetype right now with the release of Tarkir Dragonstorm, and there's just so many fun ways to do it. I plan another version of this, a slightly different one that prioritizes Mobilize in the future, but for right now, I wanted to do a more control-oriented scheme that plays very heavily off of my old Boros token deck that I did in Duskmourn. I also pulled inspiration, obviously, from people like MTG Malone, who've been doing this, and many others. So there are some similarities. You'll see things like I have Zergo and Bone Cairn Butcher. Both of them are really interesting, really cool additions to this type of a deck that I think are good. As creature cards in this deck, they often get targeted for removal, so they're not the most amazing. You could absolutely switch them out. And I do have a sideboard for this deck today. The sideboard is both useful for if you are playing best of three, but also is a really good thing to look at for potential other cards to play in this deck, aside from the ones that I have listed here. For example, Exercise is more of a sideboard card for when you're playing up against a lot of artifacts. However, if you wanted to build this deck without using Zergo and the Butcher, you could easily increase your number of things like Windcrag Siege, Urbrask's Forge, maybe even Carrot Cake, things like that, so that you have more hits for cards like United Battlefront. I know it's very popular right now, but it does play heavily off of 3 or less mana cost cards that aren't creatures. So in this deck, I didn't like it specifically because I do have a lot of things that it doesn't hit. Zergo the Butcher, I have Mondrak, there's Beza in here, Elspeth, Dollkeeper's Shop, many cards that this does not hit. So I did play around with it for a little bit, even as a 2-of in this deck, and felt that I missed more than I hit, so I removed it. You could also play things like Season of the Burrow is one that's very popular in this deck, even just as a Boros shell. We've got Day of Judgment, both for if you decide this deck needs more board wipes, because they are very necessary. That's why I've got Sunfall. And for the most part, we don't really care if any of our stuff gets hit by Sunfall, because it's all tokens and can be repopulated so easily. But again, if you wanted to play something, maybe you go a little bit more heavily with Mondrak or Beza, or you want to play the Overlord, the White Overlord, you could do that with replacing the Zergo and Butcher and be less like, or even Mondrak, and not feel as bad about hitting Sunfall or Day of Judgment, because you don't really want to kill your own things, and most of the time, if you do one of these board wipes, you're going to have to just take the loss on these creatures if they're out on the field, or know that you're going to board wipe and wait to play them until afterwards. At least that's the tactics that I normally employ. I apologize for clearing my throat so much. I'm a bit congested today. But we also have things like Lightning Helix, a fantastic removal that fits in these color combinations that also has the ability to gain you life. This card's fantastic if you're playing up against a aggressive deck in best of three. I do have Elspeth Smite in the deck as a main board card because you do run into so much aggro in best of one regardless. So this is another really good card for against those aggressive style of decks. We've got a couple of Get Lost. You could easily run more of this if you're needing a lot of spot removal, but I rely more heavily on my board wipes for that sort of thing in this deck. We also have Carrot Cake, pretty much a staple mainstay of this type of deck, something really good. Not just that it gives you free bodies and has health regain that it can give you, but it also lets you scry, so you can, if you have this as your turn to play, you can potentially look for that mana that you need or something along those lines. We've got Caretaker's Talent, definitely a staple in this deck as your primary means of drawing cards. People also like playing the enchantment creature that has this ability whenever you get a creature with, I think it's less than 3 power, entering the battlefield, then you get to draw a card, and if it dies, it becomes an enchantment rather than a creature. But Caretaker's Talent is just a little bit better in my opinion, and I don't like running things that I really miss if I hit Sunfall, because if you have that creature and then you Sunfall, it's just gone. You don't get it back as an enchantment like if it would have died. So, not a big fan of it in this deck personally, though you could absolutely make the adjustments for that to be possible. We've got Urbrask's Forge, which is really fantastic in this because it generates a token for you every turn, which can trigger Caretaker's Talent for you. It is also really good to have Windcrag Siege, almost always running it as Jeskai. You could run it as Mardu if you're wanting to get additional triggers off of Zergo and the Butcher. However, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be better off using it just for the Jeskai so that you get the recurring 1/1 Goblin that has lifelink, because that's going to be more helpful for you. The lifelink is important. It really, really is important. But both of these cards play fantastically well, not just with Caretaker's Talent because they create tokens for you, but because they reliably create haste attackers for you that can trigger your Dollmaker's Shop. So, something you can do, and I prefer to do when possible in this deck, is to play Dollmaker's Shop on turn 2, and then turn 3 Urbrask's Forge, because it will continuously keep creating a haste attacker for you that will trigger the Dollmaker's Shop and create the toy for you. And then once you've built up enough tokens, then you can open up Porcelain Gallery for 6 and make everything that much larger to attack with for a win. And then we've got really nice new things that synergize as well with that, such as Elspeth's Stormslayer. This has the ability passively, just by being on the field, to where whenever you create a token, you're going to create twice that many tokens, which is also why I'm running Mondrak in this deck. It's only a 4 cost, which is really fantastic, actually, because it's 1 turn cheaper. A really impossibly good hand, like a good turn order for this, if you got extremely lucky, would be turn 2 Porcelain Gallery, or not Porcelain Gallery, Dollmaker Shop, turn 3 Urbrask's Forge, turn 4 Mondrak, into turn 5 Elspeth. And then you've just totally overrun the board with way too much for your opponent to deal with. And then in turn 6, if you had the land for it, you could open up Porcelain Gallery, and it's like an overrun, quite literally. They would all become that much larger, and Elspeth on that turn, when you make them all larger, could also give them all flying and +1/+1 with her 0, so you could very easily dominate the board with an absolute perfect mana curve if you were able to hit it, but that's optimal and not likely to happen ever. Most of your things will end up running it into some hindrance from removal. A lot of times, even if I have Dollmaker's Shop in my hand on turn 2, if I don't already have an Urbrask's Forge, I'll go with a Carrot Cake so that I can try and scry and hit that mana fixing so that I hit my mana on curve. But it still has that optimal through line that if you were able to hit it would be absolutely beautiful. Now, beyond that, of course, we have Zergo, has Mobilize 2, is a 2/4, so his has a pretty beefy side to it, and is a good 3-cost creature even on its own. But it also has the added ability of any of your Mobilized creatures that would be sacrificed at the end of turn do not disappear, they do not die. And that plays with the Butcher as well, because the Butcher also has Mobilize 2, where it gives all of your token creatures, not just the Mobilized token creatures, Death Touch, which can make it to where now if someone's trying to block your Forge token, or even block one of your little 1/1 goblins, they're going to have to trade something. It won't be a free block no matter what. Because sometimes attacking with that 1/1 lifelink goblin is going to be important to you for triggering your Dollmaker's Shop, or even just for getting that little bit of lifelink to keep sustaining yourself in the late game. So having it to where all of those tokens have Death Touch is fantastic. It's going to make your opponent really think whether they want to block that or not. And along with that, it also is really nice to have Caretaker's Talent potentially larger. These 1/1s that come in with lifelink every turn, with the Porcelain Gallery half, or with the level 3 of Caretaker's Talent, you can make those creatures bigger and get even more lifelink back from them, which is fantastic. We've got Beza. I think Beza is really, really important in this deck. It has a lot that it can provide for you. For 4 mana, it can give you a treasure token if you're behind on land, it can give you card draw if you're behind on cards, and it gives you life if you're behind on life. And it can give you tokens, 1/1 token creatures, if you're behind on creatures, which hopefully shouldn't be the case, but could happen very easily. So that's kind of where Beza's at. It's such a good utility in this deck that it's almost never useless whenever you get it. It's a big body on its own, and it has so much usefulness to it. Then we also have Mondrak. Glory Dominus is a 4-drop as well, 4/4, which isn't bad. And then it has that ability just like the new Elspeth, to where whenever you would create a token, you create twice that many instead. And it has an ability that gives it indestructible. And the indestructible, as far as yeah, it's an indestructible counter on it, so it stays until something tries to destroy it or hits it, meaning if you block with it, it'll destroy that indestructible counter, even if it's not enough to kill your creature, but you can reapply it again and again using this ability any number of times. It has 2 Phyrexian white and 1, meaning it's a 3 mana cost if you have the mana, or you can pay 4 life and 1, or 2 life and 2, depends on what you need at the time, but then you can give your creature indestructible by sacrificing a token. Or, well, it could be sacrificing any other creature, actually, but you'll usually have tokens to do it with. I just wanted to read over that to make sure. We also have Chandra Sparkhunter in this. Chandra is a Aether Drift Planeswalker that came out. This one in particular is at least at the beginning of combat on your turn. Choose up to 1 target vehicle you control until end of turn. It becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. This is really good because not only can you create tokens every single turn with the 0 ability very easily, you can also sacrifice an artifact or discard a card to draw a card, meaning you could sacrifice your 1/1 toy creatures. You could sacrifice map tokens if someone else has Get Lost on you. You could sacrifice your Sunfall tokens, lots of different things, or you can even just discard a card. Any of these abilities would give you the option of drawing more cards, which is nice when you're trying to dig for something specific. It has a -7 ability that I've never personally had happen, but you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. So that triggers off of all of the same things that I had just mentioned. So Carrot Cake is an artifact. All of your dolls or your toys are artifacts from the doll maker's shop. The Urbrask Forge itself is an artifact, so we have many things that can trigger it. Even the treasure tokens from Beza, if you're behind on mana, would trigger it. So the -7 does still have use in this deck, but the primary purpose of it is to 0, get a card draw off of Caretaker's Talent, and then get a free attacker off of the vehicle that comes in immediately. So that's really, really nice. And because the transformation happens at the beginning of the turn, regardless of if you've made a new one or not, you don't even ever have to crew the creature if you only have one of them. You could crew it if you have multiple, but I like to often just create the one and attack with it. Sometimes it'll get blocked and destroyed, whatever, but this gives you a lot of ability to do something additional that you wouldn't otherwise get to without having it in the deck. And the card draw is really important, honestly. You get card draw with Caretaker's Talent anyway, so it may not seem as important, but if you're really digging for a Sunfall because you need one, sometimes having Chandra out to just give you that extra card draw off of Caretaker's Talent, and then the ability to sacrifice or discard to dig even deeper can be so helpful. That pretty much goes over everything. Most people know what Sunfall is. It's a 5 mana cost board wipe that exiles all creatures on the battlefield, including your own, but creates a XX incubation token, where X is the number of creatures that were exiled this way. I've already had this be up to like a 24/24 token at times. If you really need to wipe something obnoxious off of your opponent's board, even especially a indestructible creature or something along those lines, then having Sunfall is just truly fantastic. Like I said, there are a lot of different ways you can run this deck, a lot of other potentially really good cards, especially including the Overlord that I did not include in the sideboard here. But the Overlord is really good too. Maybe you would want to run it instead of Beza or Mondrak. It depends on if you really want the utility from these creatures in the deck, and I think that it usually is better to have these in this one in particular. Going over the land, we've got quite a few basics. The deck is predominantly white, so we care about that. We've got a lot of the ones that enter tapped, and there are times when tap lands can be a little bit annoying when you're trying to get to that Sunfall mana or something like that. But so you could change that up if you wanted. I've got 1 Restless Bivouac, always enters tapped, obviously. The Nomad Outpost is the Mardu color tap land. It will always enter tapped, obviously. And then we've got Inspiring Vantage, Blackcleave Cliffs, and Concealed Courtyard. These all enter tapped unless you have, or if you have more than 3 lands. So if you're on your 4th land or more, these will always enter tapped, but 2 or less, or 3 or less, if this is your 3rd land, then it will enter untapped. And then we all obviously also have the basics. The Magmatic Hellkite is a fantastic card that I truly love out of this new set, but it can blow up a lot of your lands that are non-basic lands, so you do want to make sure you have some basics to fetch in the event that that happens. Though, honestly, if you're up against that Magmatic Hellkite, you're going to be in trouble, especially if they hit the curve perfectly, because turn 2 throwing out that new Sarkin, creating a treasure token, and then turn 3 going for that Hellkite, especially if they got to go first, can put you behind so much that you may never recover. Matches like those are why I have things like these Day of Judgments in here. That one turn sooner board wipe can really make a difference in that matchup. But anyway, that should be a full breakdown of the deck. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get into matches and be playing best of 1 like I normally do. We'll see if we can't get some good games to show this deck off. Alright, got a good opening hand as far as land. Looking good with the Carrot Cake and Windcrag Siege as well, so I'm going to keep. Too bad we're not going first here. Looks like we're up against a mono red weenie, so we will just have to see how quickly we can get stuff out. We do have a lot of life gain potential in our opening here, though. I do definitely want that. Okay, I'm going to go here and just pass. The plan here now is to crack Carrot Cake and use Elspeth's Smite. Now, the big benefit we have here is if we want to smite something, we just have to care about how large its toughness is, not its power. I do want the land, actually, so we'll go ahead and leave that there. Gonna have to see what we do here. Looks like he's gonna continue to try and grow it. Let's go ahead and pop it now. Not bad. Considering what was going on, that could have been much worse. He committed pretty much all of his resources to one thing that is gone now, so that's really good for us. I'm gonna go ahead and do Chandra so that I can do her minus ability. Oh, I am totally forgetting what her abilities are. My bad.
Let's shift gears.
Okay, well, we won just because he's like, oh no, I can't ever win now. But that's, he was actually still in a really good position. He shouldn't have left. I was thinking this was my Elspeth for some reason, or at least for some reason I was thinking it had a minus ability to blow up creatures, but I was thinking of the Elspeth minus ability. So that was my bad, but at the same time, we were kind of looking okay. He was out of stuff, wasn't going to be able to pump these more, was going to be hitting for like 2 damage a turn. So as long as we could survive to get other things out, it was going to be fine. I think it still would have probably been better to go with Caretaker's Talent here, or even the Crag, just so I could start getting lifelink. But yeah, so misplay on Chandra. Probably should have done a Crag instead, so that we could start getting lifelink on subsequent turns while trying to figure out how to deal with these guys. If I had gotten one more untapped land and gotten Chandra or Elspeth out, then I could have done the -3, or even potentially do the 0 to just give my creatures flying as blockers. Either way, though, we were looking pretty good. We handled that Cacophony Scamp really well, and you can see like exactly why I put Elspeth's Smite in this deck, and how this deck can handle mono red as long as you play intelligently, but there is still more in the sideboard that can really help with that too if you're playing best of 3. Anyway, let's see if we can get into some more games. We need 2 more wins. Alright, unfortunately our opponent goes first, but we've got a pretty good looking hand here as far as land and things go. Our turn 1 and turn 4 lands are most likely going to be entering tapped, unfortunately. But we've got good plays through turn 4. Now we've got Get Lost too, which is good play on their turn if we need. Carrot Cake, not worried about that. Pass, my turn. Go here, get a little Zergo going. We have our own Carrot Cake now if we want. Now they're going to need to answer Zergo. Did they miss a land drop? They did, because they went first. I don't care. Go ahead. I do kind of care about that. I hate that thing, and I can't do anything about it on its turn, so I'm going to go here. Okay. That was a really easy win, but kind of a mirror match situation. You've got to make sure to kill this thing on sight. If you wait until their turn, it has an ability where you can't cast spells on their turn, so very instantly I needed to get rid of it. It looked like unfortunate for our opponent, though. They were missing some land. We had the ability to like start with Mondrak next turn and stuff. I wanted to get down the Siege, but this thing is trouble and needs gone immediately. Alright, opponent goes first, which is unfortunate, but we've got a pretty interesting looking hand here, I think's fine. Forge would be nice off the top. Carrot Cake's not bad either, since we don't have a Forge. Looks like we're going to want a Sunfall for these opponents. I guess that's fine, because we do need the land. At this point, we're probably best off looking for land for Sunfall, so I'm just going to go here, go for the healing. Let them keep filling the board as much as possible. We need one land, whether it be tapped or untapped. Kind of want this token here in case we need to draw with Caretaker. That is not a land, so now we're really going to need an untapped land, preferably. Oh, and I didn't even have enough white to where I could make an additional token. That sucks. So I don't even think I could play the Sunfall since I'm missing white. Okay, there's the white I need, which is good. I just gotta survive until I can get that Sunfall out, really. Because we don't want them to raise the past with all this stuff in their graveyard, so even if there was something more beneficial I could do, I just am not going to want to. Now, unfortunately, he's going to have options for sacrificing his creatures instead of letting my Sunfall hit them, so that's going to suck, but we don't really have a choice here. Gonna have to hope he doesn't have Raise the Past ready, because he still can't kill me with what he has. He'll be able to dig for a Raise the Past now, though. Okay, he only sacrificed one creature. That actually was totally fine. Totally fine. Okay, there's the Raise the Past, and we have another Sunfall. He will be able to sacrifice them again, but even doing so, he's going to end up needing another Raise the Past now. Yeah, he can only do so much damage to me with this strategy. I am going to need some means of gaining life soon, though. This doesn't have any lifelink abilities, does it? Did it again! Oh my gosh. Well, how do we feel about one more Sunfall? Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. It's gonna eat it too. So he can't kill me. He's gotten rid of as much as he possibly could here now and is out of sacrifice outlets in his graveyard. Nesting bot, okay. Alright. So we need lifelink, we're gonna go here. Jeskai. That leaves us a few additional options. I don't have any way to create a token this turn, unless I go here. And then go here. And it's just a 1/1. So there are options for him to block it and save it. Because he can grow the Bartolome by eating the nesting bot and then block the token. He didn't even want to, apparently. Now, I'm gonna have to level up my Caretaker's talent to gain back enough life from my lifelink on this next bit. Interesting. Maybe they have another Raise the Past? No. Okay, that's good. Alright, so what we have to do here without any question is this, so that I can get lifelink. And then I think probably going here for some more life coming up is going to help too. That's fine, I don't care what's on top. Then we attack here, gain back life, and get another token. And then I have to discard things. Let's discard a talent, because I don't need it. I've pretty much run my opponent out of options. They don't really have a good means of getting anything here. So let's go here, go Beza, get back some more life. And then, I'm pretty happy with this. We can keep up our carrot cake for their turn. I mean, it's pretty unfair for our opponent. We did do Sunfall 3 times in a row to stop them. So, I mean, fair enough, right? But sometimes that's just how it works. That was all of my Sunfalls, too. I drew all of them. I don't care about that. Alright, and then here, we're going to go here, then do this. This guarantees our win at this point. We can go ahead and throw out another Dollmaker shop, I guess, if we want. Yeah, but that's going to be another 11 lifelink coming back. This board can overrun significantly, and we really kind of ruined them. They used Raise the Past twice, and we Sunfalled 3 times. So they lost pretty much everything that they had any value with. The Blood Witch, we got rid of Bartolome, we got rid of the core, so they weren't getting lifelink or life back every time they redid it. Yeah, and they never had the bat that actually makes this the most viable, so we were easily overrunning them here in this situation. But anyway, hopefully you guys like that. We got 3 good games, showed off the deck a little bit. One of them was a little short, but it's fine. Got to go up against aggro, and this deck's a really popular aristocrat style deck too, so it can show the beating a variety, which is why I like standard play over ranked. And ranked, you can run into the same thing over and over and over, and that's pretty boring. But anyway, like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully you join me for the next one, whatever I put up next.